Okay, so guys, welcome to the DSC initial event, the intro event for DSC 2020-2021. It's a pleasure to meet you guys. It's a shame that we're not on physical terms because ideally, and that's actually what we did last year, we had a lot of great experiences, but due to circumstances, we have to stay online for now. So let's see how it goes. So I hope you guys are feeling well today. I know some of you have come here from a day of lectures. I don't envy you, and I hope you have a cup of tea, maybe some hot cocoa by your side if you want. Just kick back, relax, enjoy the presentation. We're gonna aim at it being about an hour long, and we will have no break for this one. For future events, we may have breaks. It depends on the solutions for the breaks. We have to make them work properly with the break rooms and such. Okay, let's start. So this is a quick agenda. We're gonna do an introduction to DSC if you've never heard of us. And then also we're gonna do a bit of a recap of last year. Because this is actually the second year of the club. And the first year was led by Roman here, who's also in the meeting. And we will do a sort of a retrospective, a few pictures from the last year, and go from there. So I actually forgot to introduce myself. I'm Matas Ristanis. I'm the new DSC lead for this year. I also do some programming for Yuki at Rotterdam or in Rotterdam. And I'm a student in TU Delft, which I think most of you are as well. So it's great to have a student company over here. And then we'll do the vision, which is gonna be the whole second part of the event. It's gonna take about half of the event, I'd say. And there will be a lot of introductions into different topics. For you guys to basically vote on. So that should be great. And then I will introduce the DSC project because it is also a core sort of facet of the club. It's something that Google really wants to push out, like really aggressively. And they do offer certain benefits. One of the most important ones being airtime. So you basically get, a few minutes of fame if you make a project that's worthy enough. So that's really cool. And then also we'll discuss upcoming events and also some new things, game night, for example, which are sort of a smaller event type thing that's aimed at the community as a whole instead of tech topics. Okay, wonderful. So so what is the DSC, the Developer Student Club powered by Google, or more precisely, what are we as in DSC Delft? So the DSC is essentially an initiative started by Google. It is not directly connected to Google, as some of you guys have expressed your concerns about being, associated with, privacy concerns and such. We're not directly in coordinates with Google, so as to say, but we do get, for example, some benefits directly from Google. So that may be, let's say, speakers, access to better speakers, access to material for ourselves. We can also request, if there's an event, for example, a Google event that we could potentially send some people to, we may get access to that as well. So it's not necessarily like a part of Google. We're sort of a different thing that's sort of backed up by Google when there's a need for that. So yeah, so this is the gist of it all, and the goal behind the DSC is, first of all, to allow for people to make new connections, and that's going to be really important in this time when we can't actually do physical stuff because everything is closed down. But then also to encourage learning and curiosity as well. So we're going to have a lot of interesting topics for you guys to take a look at in the upcoming events. It's going to consist of all manner of different topics with diverse speakers. And we're going to have essentially a platform for people to boost their creativity and their curiosity for learning, which is great. And then, yeah, we're going to also try to provide people with opportunities for growth, be it in their personal lives or in their professional or profile, their coding profile lives. Don't annotate, please. I'm going to have to turn it off now. Let's see, where can I do that? I don't know where to do that. Yeah, just Control Z out, and we should be good. Yeah, and then also with the things such as the project, the solution challenge, we will also provide a lot of room for you to grow, not only for your own knowledge, but also for interperson knowledge that you have. So networking and collaborating with people to build amazing things, hopefully. All right. So up until this very moment, DSC has sort of spread in the last 2 years of its existence to quite a big sort of stage in the world. The DSC is now in 68 and more countries. It's always increasing. And we have 1,200 plus clubs that are active, meaning that they're usually centered around a university. So we are centered around the TU Delft, but there's countless other clubs in America and in Europe, everywhere. It was initially the pilot program for this 2 years ago, almost to the exact date. It was started in India, and then they spread next year into Europe and the US, respectively. So, and this club is actually the first club in the Netherlands, the first DSC in the Netherlands that was active, and the oldest one at that as well, which is pretty cool. Because last year it was the only club in the Netherlands, which is pretty cool. It's kind of exclusive. So yeah, so the club, our club, is on its 2nd year. The program as a whole is on its 3rd year. And then also we have new sister DLCs, or the DSC, sorry, that are popping up. We have, I believe, 3 new ones in the Netherlands this year. It's really good because we're gonna hopefully be able to produce grandiose events once everything goes away of the the virus stuff calms down. We should be able to make some pretty cool collaborations because combining forces with multiple teams is always a good idea, especially when you're trying to make huge events, big in scale, or bigger than a Zoom meeting, essentially. Okay, wonderful. So now I'm going to hand it over to Roman, who was our lead last year, and he will take you through a trip of memories, of reminiscence.
Okay, thank you very much, Matas. So my name is Roman. I am the lead from the previous year. And as Matas already noticed, it was actually the 1st year in the Netherlands and in Delft also. I'm here to talk about to summarize our previous year, to make some, to remember our events, what events we had, what topics we had, etc. So now I'm DC organizer and asset ex-lead. So everything has started in November 2019. It was our first introductory event, such as we are having right now. We had quite a lot of people joining us, 60 attendees, and I'm quite surprised that we are nearly the same amount this time. At the introductory event, I was talking about the same thing as Matthias is talking about right now, but also we had a nice guest speaker. He is Jairzinho Henriquez. He is a Google Developers Groups organizer. And I asked him to talk about communities in the Netherlands for developers. So what other clubs, what other meetups developers can join to learn more about development. So next event, the same month in November, we had actual topic events, which was about Flutter, the cross-platform development tool. There were 30 attendees this time. It was held in a TU Delft campus. And the picture, you can actually see the mascot for Flutter, and it was brought to us by another speaker, guest speaker, Jeroen Meyer. He is a Google developers expert in Flutter, and he came to talk about Flutter for web development, and also showed us some demonstrational development, so how you would develop the application yourself in real life. I had also a small talk there for kind of intro to Flutter, as this tool is, I'm quite passionate about it as well. So then was December. In December, we did not have any meetings, but after Christmas holidays, coming back in January, we had a meeting about front end. So we called it a front end day. What was quite interesting about this specific meeting is that the location was a Top Desk office. So for those who doesn't know about it, Top Desk is quite a large company originated from Delft. So there is a headquarter here in our city. So it's IT company. There are actually different locations across the world. So they generally hosted us for the event. So there were 20 attendees and 3 speakers. The first one is Emily Clerks from Top Desk itself. She was talking about tools and challenges in the company. Then Yaprak, who is a Google developers expert in Angular, the web framework. So she was talking about it. And then Matthias, who you probably should already know, was talking about TypeScript and its benefits over JavaScript. It was quite a nice talks, but also what was pretty interesting, Top Desk has supplied us some snacks and drinks, and we had quite a nice and chill environment to talk about, to meet each other, to discuss the topics, to ask questions. So it was really nice experiment, I would say. And when we are going to offline again this year, hopefully, we want to find a way to sponsor such events more and more. So every event would have some time for us to chill, to have some drinks and discuss different topics and technologies. And then comes February. It was actually our last meeting at the year. It was about backends, and special about this meeting was that there were 3 speakers. All of them were students. So Thomas from computer science had a small introduction into Django framework. Then Mateus, who is an aerospace engineer student, had some talk about REST API with Django REST framework. And in the end, Nicholas, computer science student, had a talk about serverless applications. In total, 20 attendees, and it was really nice meeting again. Unfortunately, like it was February, then March. In March, everything was shut down. So we decided, or maybe I decided not to go online. I was a bit afraid how kind of online meetings will go on, but as so far I'm pretty optimistic about it, and hopefully we can manage it. What else we had during the year? So actually, what was really cool, we could collaborate with Codemotion, which is kind of international community of developers, and they conduct some nice tech conferences in multiple countries, including in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. We collaborated with them. They provided us 2 free full tickets. Unfortunately, the event was also delayed, but at the end, they gave us 10 tickets, 10 premium tickets to online conference that is actually going to happen this October 20th. So if you still want to join it, they have an offer of offer for free tickets, which are a bit more limited, but still will work. But we gave away like all of those 10 tickets to people who participated in our small giveaway contest or whatever. And going to a bit sad kind of events, we had planned in March another quite large event, which we called Machine Learning Marathon. A lot of people were anticipating it, and I also, it was like to be a 3-day event with some tech talks and workshops, including hands-on workshops about machine learning. So a lot of people were interested in the topic, so we decided to make it a bit more bigger. But now we are having a larger team, although we are at the moment online, but I really have a strong hope that it's going to be bigger and better this year, and I'm sure it will be. I guess that's it for me. I'm giving back the stage to Matas.
All right. Let's continue. Thank you, Roman. Thank you. Great presentation. Let's see. Yeah, so it is a shame that we had a bit of a cancellation, but we're standing back up. Should be all fine. Now, I sort of forgot that I had a poll for you guys. It's an anonymous poll, but it's something that Roman did last year, and it is a good idea, in my opinion. It's essentially a poll about which faculty are you from, if you're from TU Delft. So I opened the poll, and feel free to vote if you want, and we'll see who's from where. And there's a majority of people from EMCS. Yeah, we got a couple of others. Yeah, it's quite overwhelming, actually. Okay, yeah. We've got 94% of people from EMCS. And then I see you guys voting for other faculties. 2 people, to be exact. But yeah, I see our core audience now. So that's good. Okay, thanks. It's a bit of interactivity for you guys. Okay, so let's continue on. So I'm going to address the current status that we have. And actually, even Google has been having issues adhering to the new norms that have come up, in the sense that usually there's a summit that they take all of their DSC leads to a place, and there's a big event that lasts a few days. And Roman was part of such an event last year. I think it was in Paris, correct me if I'm wrong. But they had to sort of reformat it to be online this year, which is a shame, of course. But yeah, we're facing most of the same issues. And for most of the decisions regarding this, we will be following TU Delft's policy. So whatever they say, for example, if they start allowing such events, or if they start, calling people back in to physical exams, then we'll take that as a sign that we can start operating physically, essentially. even though we did get sort of a permission for limited scale events from Andy, we did get permission to organize those, but they have to be super limited in scale. So we'd rather have an unlimited setting where people are not afraid to show up, if it makes sense. So yeah, we'll stay online for now, but then once physical returns, and I'm gonna keep talk about this later as well, we have a lot of things planned, including workshops, including, as Roman has mentioned already, sponsored events. So that means hopefully free lunch for some of you guys, or an evening snack, perhaps a dinner. So we'll try to get that rolling as soon as it's likely, as long as it gets physical again. And then, yeah, one of the main problems that we're gonna face this year is with networking, because it doesn't really work the same way. Even though I know that, for example, Zoom, which is what we are on at the moment, provides something called breakout rooms, where you can split people into small groups and then let them, have a organic conversation. It's not really the same as physical interaction, because it's sort of it is forced in some way, and it is not very it's not organic. Like, you have to join a room instead of just wandering over to some person. So yeah, but to alleviate that, we've created a Discord so that we can hopefully get some people conversing naturally, or making a few connections with friends. And also the new game night initiative, which is I'm gonna talk about that later in this event as well. Cool. All right. So let's start with the vision for 2020 to 2021. This is going to be a series of introductions for you guys to topics that we're planning to make events about. So you can basically make up your mind on if you would like to see something that I'm going to show, or if you won't. And the good thing about this format is that there's a vote prepared for you. It's essentially a post-event survey, but it's only about 5 questions, so it's super short. And you can essentially show your preferences for the events that you'd liked. And then we will likely try to get speakers for the topics that garnered most, the most favorability. So you have a lot of power in your hands. So yeah, just vote. Make sure you vote when the opportunity comes. Okay, so of course, one of the main things in the programming world, of course, is web development. And we did have topics related to web development last year, and we had plans to do hardcore web development days, meaning we would do React and Vue and all these frameworks, perhaps a talk each, to let people get a feel of them if they haven't used them yet, or if they're looking to get into web dev. But yeah, so this year we will have the opportunity to expand on that because of the new format. So we'll probably do events where there's perhaps a couple of talks on one subject, and maybe a different staggered talk or a group of talks on a different time on the same day, for example, so that if people are not interested in a specific framework, they can join on the one that they're interested in. But anyway, we'll be talking about, I've got Vue here, React, the big players in the game, Angular as well, even though we didn't have an Angular talk last year. It's essentially, I'm just trying to say that we're going to try to cover a lot of the emerging and the strong players that are currently, on the throne in the web development space. And we've got quite a few people that actually have jobs and are working with these technologies in a professional setting, me included. So we actually can get quite a few really super senior people to hopefully come, and super senior developers to come and give their perspective on these frameworks, if they're using them. And then also Flutter, that's Google's initiative. If you have not heard of it, it is a framework that allows you to do super easy, I guess you could say, translation between web and mobile devices, which is what all the rage is about these days with React Native and Vue Native as well. But they, especially since they're now fixing up their web stuff, because last year we're having trouble with their web part of the equation, even though the mobile stuff worked flawlessly essentially. So yeah, we'll get that on the stage as well, especially if it proves as promising as Google thinks it will be, because they're putting a lot of effort into promoting it. And then also we're not going to be just mentioning framework by framework. We're going to integrate everything you should know. So that includes testing. I've got the Just logo here, the little clown logo. That's for originally made for testing React, but it's essentially we're going to be doing that, and also some new frameworks. So we got Svelte here, who was a very new player on the block. It's a minimalistic, you could call it a hipster framework, but hey, it's about the power of choice, and there's definitely some cases where each one of these is preferable. Like there's no one or the other that's better. Okay, then we're gonna do. We have a great opportunity to expand into Internet of Things, and I'm gonna hand it over to Joachim, who has been doing IoT for a long time. He's one of our organizers, and I'm gonna let him introduce himself. Be sure to unmute yourself, by the way. Okay. Unmute.
All right. Yes.
Wonderful.
I think that's it. All right. So I would like to take this opportunity to give you all a short introduction into IoT. It will be short. It won't be in depth. That's what the future meetings will be for. But just as Meta said, I have quite a lot of experience in the IoT world. My name is Jochem Broekhoff, to introduce myself. And as you can probably read, I am a software engineer at a company called Swix, where I have been working for a little more than 3 years now. And I've been doing all kinds of stuff there, ranging from front-end, mobile apps, web apps. And currently I'm doing a lot of embedded software development and backend development. I will tell you a little bit about that more in like 2 slides. Right, to start off, we're talking about the Internet of Things, but what is a thing? When is something part of the Internet of Things? Saying a thing is, yeah, you just mean basically everything, but the word anything contains thing, so that's a kind of a strange definition, but it's basically anything that is connected to the internet. You can say it's part of IoT. And I will just give you a couple of short examples to give you an idea of what can be part of a typical IoT solution. Now, what you can see here on the slide is a smart meter, as that's what it's called. Most of the homes in the Netherlands actually have such a device already installed. So most of you probably have one in their homes as well. And the thing is, it's basically quite simple what this thing does. It just measures how much you use of electricity, but it can also measure the amount of used natural gas or water sometimes, depends on the configuration. But the thing that makes it smart and part of the Internet of Things is that it's connected to the internet. And every day it reports all the measured statistics to the utility company. So they know what you are using and can bill you on that. Another benefit of this smart meter is that it has a special port. I don't know if you can see it, but it's at the middle to the left, which is called a P1 port, which is basically a port, a serial port that is standardized across all smart meters, through which anybody who has the right tools can analyze what the meter is measuring in real time. And there are quite a lot of devices on the market that you can plug into that, which show you a graph of your energy usage and give you insight into your gas or water and electricity usage and help you save electricity, basically. Now, another example, which also falls into the category of smart homes, is, for example, it's just an example, garden lights that turn on at sunset. Now, what does that have to do with IoT? Well, it basically just has to know when it's sunset. That is the part that makes it part of the internet, because that's something, that's a piece of information you have to get from the internet, basically. Now, garden lights is, of course, a very basic example, but if you start thinking about all the possibilities that you can automate, then it starts getting crazy quickly. Then there are three other topics, perhaps automotive industry, agriculture and livestock production, and healthcare. Those are three topics where IoT is very much applicable. Think, for example, about the automotive industry. Pretty much all new cars nowadays are by default connected via the internet to the manufacturer's backend. So that is mainly meant for to provide to increase customer satisfaction by monitoring what the car is doing, for example, and sending out alerts before some part of the car breaks down and you have to you have to repair something. Now that falls into the category of preventive maintenance or preventive monitoring, which which is another broad topic. Then I won't go into details about the agriculture and livestock production and healthcare, but suffice to say there are a lot of applications which can increase productivity or can increase safety in healthcare, for example. Okay, right. I said that I was working at a company called Swix, and I want to briefly talk about what I am doing to give you a concrete example of what it's like doing IoT for a living, basically. Now, Swix is an IoT infrastructure provider. That means we don't make any of these smart devices ourselves, but we are just giving customers the option or the infrastructure to connect all kinds of sensors of all kinds of different protocols into one single portal, and we do that by means of our own custom hardware, which combines all these protocols. And here on the slide, you can see a couple of protocols. These are the major players on the market nowadays, which we, for example, support to integrate. Now, these protocols by default can't talk with each other. And that's what we are concerned with, making it possible for all these protocols that are wildly different, to make them able to talk together, basically. And that is basically what I'm doing when I'm at work, writing software that makes those protocols talk to each other. All right, to finish off, I would like to give you a couple of examples about topics that we might talk about in the future if we were to do talks about IoT. First of that is in-depth examples and perhaps workshops, because this introduction is just meant as an introduction. It doesn't have any demos or anything, but that would certainly be interesting if we could show you some examples of IoT, maybe some hands-on stuff in a workshop, for example. Another thing is what I would call the SNP of IoT, which basically stands for security and privacy. These are two crucial topics, of course, especially nowadays in digital systems and in the internet in general. Yet somehow IoT fails to deliver on them very often. Why is that the case? That is a very interesting topic. Then another one is IoT and big data. All those sensors that are somehow connected to the internet are basically producing data constantly. It's one big data stream, and well, we have to manage that somehow. We have to process that. We have to analyze that, make decisions in real time, perhaps. So how does one do that, basically? And as a fourth one, perhaps, what makes an IoT device? That is maybe somewhat more hardware related, but yeah, that could be interesting too. Right, so I think that rounds up my my part, and I guess it's time to hand it over to Matt.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the introduction. Good stuff. I'm gonna take it back like this. Wonderful. Okay, I'm gonna take my headphones off because they're kind of bulky. And I want to continue on. So, thank you, Joachim. And we're gonna be hearing a lot of about IoT, hopefully in the future, including but not limited to events, you know, meeting type events, but also workshops. One thing that we sort of missed last year was doing, you know, was having a real presence in workshops, in the workshop sphere, I guess. And that's what we're gonna hopefully do this year if the situation doesn't halt out or, you know, degrade even more, which it has been doing so for the last couple of weeks, but let's hope it stops soon. Okay, let's continue on. So we also have a lot of machine learning, and that's actually what the big event that we had planned for last year was about. It was essentially, as Roman said already, a multi-day event. But I'm going to reintroduce a few, or I'm going to just briefly mention that machine learning is some of you might know if you're doing DSC second year specifically, is essentially a way for computers to generate knowledge and get better at producing sound decisions after an increase, you know, by processing new data as it comes in, and that essentially can be anything from doing something as simple as, for example, taking a lot of listings on a e-commerce website and then looking at their descriptions and then finding and then trying to predict based on those descriptions which of the listings will sell quicker. That can be, you know, that's not simple, but it could go from that sort of scale to something like for example, automatic document processing. So you get, you know, full recognition of documents. Or for example, something that I'm doing at the moment for UK is an engine which takes, essentially it allows financial transactions to be processed a lot more smartly than you would otherwise be able to process them. And there's a lot of like bureaucracy in that, because for example, you can't do anything financial and this is Dutch law. I'm not sure about other countries, but you cannot do financial anything without having a concrete decision path to show how that decision was made. So I know you smart asses from the DSC are going to say, oh yeah, use decision trees. You can trace the path. Yeah, it won't. It's not as simple and as simple as you may think. It is essentially a multifaceted problem where there's format mismatches. There's everything, like even from what Joachim was talking about with the multiple protocols. With bank transactions, it's much of the same thing because everything they sort of use the same framework, but they are never identical. So you have to account for everything, which is part of the fun, but also a huge challenge. Yeah, and we also will be diving into tools such as Python. Python is dominating, of course, and then TensorFlow is a big dog as well in the ML sphere. So the first event, if you're interested in this, the first real big event will hopefully be the big event that Roman was talking about, the multi-day event, assuming we can get back to physical quick. Otherwise, we may have to organize that, but on a virtual basis, if that essentially proves to be possible, if we can sort of make it engaging enough. Okay. Continuing on, this is a new edition. It is essentially an event type that focuses on self-improvement and also roadmaps for yourself. So for example, if you have a specific goal, you could do, you can take, or you can even organize yourself with others, which is actually often a very good idea, to have a group of people that are striving for the same thing. So you can bounce off ideas off of them. You can practice around with them when you're trying to reach the same goal. So this could envelop anything from, building a strong portfolio for your job application, or for example, planning a personal project that may expand to something later on that could also be used for your resume as well, or your portfolio, and then also some more direct roadmaps, which we're gonna try to explore, or perhaps even do sort of a staged event, or a workshop type thing. So for example, there's a diagram here for the roadmap for a person who would like to start doing front-end development. It's essentially all of the facets, or some of the facets, that you might want to dive into before attempting a website or applying for essentially a job for a front end. And then this is Vue, because I love Vue, a Vue roadmap as well. Yeah, it's essentially a way for you to segregate your progress into steps, and then to follow those steps and to know what to follow, and to have to essentially have a group of people doing the same thing, or for example, attending an event that gets you on the track is could be a great thing if that's what you're seeking. All right, and then also one sort of a new big subject as well is going to be entrepreneurship, and this is essentially the process of, first of all, forming the first kind. There's multiple, of course, but the first kind of entrepreneurship is making a product yourself, getting the ideas I've listed here, cornering your market, finding your niche, scouting out. First of all, you have to decide on what's your target, what's your, first of all, your audience, but then later on, what's the target, what's the thing you're trying to solve? Because if you can't set that up correctly and sort of effectively, then you're going to be wandering around in circles trying to do everything at once. Doing sort of gauging, or you can do like pre-marketing. You can ask people what they would think if this was advertised to them, or how they would, do you think that they would like to use it? Like all of those sort of inquisitive things that a new company has to do in order to validate themselves before actually starting, production. And we've been running a company, me and a co-founder, for about two reaching on 3 years already. It's called Hafa. We're doing a inventory management system, essentially, like multi-platform e-commerce, and it has been going really well. We have a few full-time employees. We have a few part-time developers as well. So it's essentially it's something that I'm really interested in as well, because I've gone through those steps, and I also have, or we can get some really interesting people, some speakers that, for example, that make their living from taking a company, buying a company, fixing it up, either selling it or keeping it, and then going on. That's like the high velocity entrepreneur, if you like. Or also someone who has been in the market for 40 plus years, that has inherited the company and has been running it for 20 years on their own term, and has tens or hundreds of tens of employees. So if you'd like to hear from those types of people on what they did, or what their path to success was like, or what their choices were like, then you might be interested in this as well. And yeah, and then I'm gonna just finish this off. So for the tech related, specifically companies, you would probably aim to make a pilot at some point where you can show off your product, and then also doing marketing, brand presence, everything, building that up before you can actually start selling, and building up a real reputation for your own company. And yeah, client search, promotions, everything like converges into one thing when you're starting a company. It's just getting out of the mud and starting a route for something beautiful, hopefully. Okay, and now we're gonna have the last of our sub intros, and this is for graphics, and also low-level programming. And I know you guys have been sort of the ones that are doing BSc year 2, because we're in the middle of a graphics course, but it's a super interesting topic nonetheless, especially when you get behind or past the basic stuff. So Hector, I'm gonna hand it over to you. Let's see if we can get your audio working. No, it's not working. Let's see. Okay, could you, we can't hear you. Yeah. Can you try to do the same setup with the multiple mics? Yeah, just max them out. Is it not working? Let's see. Oh, we're getting something.
Is it working? Can you hear me?
Yeah, super low. Yeah, if you could boost the percentages, that would be great.
Never worked.
No, yeah, it's super low.
I put it up higher now. It should be better.
Yeah, it is better. So if you could pick a closer position, perhaps. Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry for the inconvenience.
Okay, it's still sort of low. It's okay. Hold on. You have to take over my presentation first of all, and then we'll try to get you to work. Yeah.
Is it better now? This quality?
Oh yeah. Just don't shout. Yep.
Okay, perfect. So let's share my screen.
Yeah, take over my screen, and you should be good.
All right. Sorry for the inconvenience there. So I'm Hector. I'm mainly a system level programmer and a computer graphics enthusiast. So my main programming languages are Rust and C++. And I also have some experience making games and especially game engines. So computer graphics. A lot of you might already have had an introduction because of the computer graphics course. there's way more to computer graphics than what we saw there. When I say the word computer graphics, most people think of real-time applications like games or maybe medical visualizations. That's done using, most generally, OpenGL, DirectX, or Vulkan. Those are graphics APIs. OpenGL is the one we also used in the course, but there we used OpenGL 1.0. When we do a workshop around OpenGL, we'd use a modern version, because right now we're at 4.7. So there are a lot more new cool features we can work with. But there's also the non-real-time branch of computer graphics, mainly used for rendering animations or architectural renderings. For example, all the Pixar movies are also rendered, and that's done using ray tracing. So there we actually simulate light rays going through space, which takes a lot of computational power, but can achieve some really incredible results, like the picture you can see on the slide right now. That's a completely digitally made. No, it's not a real photo. And then there's one special the outlier of the computer graphics, which is ray marching. It kind of uses the same technique as ray tracing, but it uses a single mathematical formula to describe your whole scene. So the image can be made quite fast, but you can have almost infinite detail. If you see a video of, for example, a fractal rendering, so I don't know if you saw the videos online about the Mandelbrot set, those are quite often done in if they're 3D, they're done using ray marching. And then there's Vulkan, that's one of the new real-time graphics APIs. Yeah, that's about computer graphics. Then the next part is Rust. So I don't know how many of you have heard about Rust. It's a relatively new programming language, and it's meant as, it's trying to improve a lot of things C++ and other languages didn't do that well. First of all, if you're using JavaScript or Java, that uses garbage collection. So if an object isn't used anymore, after a while it will get removed out of memory, but that takes a big performance hit. And then on the other side, you have C++, which uses manual memory allocation. So you either have to create a new object, but also and then in between there's Rust. Rust is kind of a new system. It uses lifetimes and ownership. So when the owner of an object gets removed, the object itself will also get removed. There are a lot more complicated rules behind this, but that comes with the freedom of garbage collector languages, with the performance of manually memory managed languages like C++. Another problem which Rust tries to fix is the libraries. I don't know how many of you tried C++ and tried to include some libraries. It's always a pain. You have to get the header files, you have to link the library. Rust has a package manager included, like npm for JavaScript, where you just add one line to your config file, and you can use the library in your project. Then you have the compiler errors. C++ and a lot of other languages are quite known for their bad compiler errors. So if you add one character too much, you get a listing of 200 lines explaining something went wrong, but you don't really know what. If you do something wrong in Rust, the compiler gives you a nice colored explanation. It provides you with a possible solution and also a link to the official documentation. So if you want to look up more information about it, you know where to find it. And then because of all the types, the memory system in Rust, and everything is type checked, and you can't make an error. For example, there are no null pointers in Rust, because that would be that would defy their memory management rules. And they have the same for thread safety. So if you try to make an application multi-threaded, you can never have a problem where two threads that try to access the same data, and for example, one reads and the other writes, and you get into conflicts that way. That's not possible. So converting an application to be multi-thread is really easy, and you can prevent a lot of bugs that way. But still, Rust is as fast or sometimes even faster than C++ after all those cool and helpful features. So what kind of events can you expect from the computer graphics / Rust / low-level programming part? there might be an OpenGL workshop in which we'll discuss the modern OpenGL versions. So not the one we discussed in the computer graphics lectures. So OpenGL 4.7. Then we might do array marching 101. So for example, the image you see here on the right is a Mandelbrot bulb. It's a 3D version of a Mandelbrot set. And that one is rendered at real time. And if you do array marching event, we could make that ourselves, and some other really cool mathematical 3D renderings. And you can also expect a Rust primer, because Rust is a really nice language, and it would be nice if more people use it. So yeah, that's my introduction to computer graphics and Rust and low-level stuff. All right, Matt, back to you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, the graphics is super interesting, especially when you pair it with take the frontier. Okay, so we're actually running out of time, so I'm gonna speed up now because I promised 1 hour event. So let's just finish up with these topics here, and I'm gonna tell to you about the event or the solution project from Google. So one of the main remaining things here that was completely missing from last year was any sort of security talk, and we actually have some speakers lined up for that do general security in tech companies, but a far more interesting, in my opinion, branch for doing both speakers and events, and especially workshops, is offensive security. So I have the Kali Linux logo here. If you've played around with that, you can post something in the chat if you want. But it's essentially a distribution of Linux that has a lot of tool sets, essentially everything you would need to perform ethical, to perform hacking, essentially. So that could incorporate anything from pen testing services to getting into networks to I don't know, just even brute forcing, Wi-Fi passwords, or doing some sniffing or something. And from those sorts of distributions, it doesn't have to be that specific one because it's just a collection of tools. But those sorts of distributions and hacking itself gives rise to events such as the Google CTF, which has been taking place online, but there's plenty of them that are offline as well. That are actually quite cool because you get a LAN that's completely separate from the outside because no one wants to risk anything, and then you're free to do like anything you want to anyone connected. And CTF stands for control the flag. So, for example, you would get a few boxes. You would get maybe a printer that has some feature enabled that you could exploit to get into it, and then get the flag, and then perhaps cut off connection or try to mess with the other teams to sort of stop those connections from coming in. So like starters for these types of things, like how introductions to these is probably like if you're interested, I highly recommend you to tune in and to vote for this later on because it's super interesting. And then let's see what we have left. Okay, so this is something sysadmin and DevOps. It's sort of a niche topic because not many people are doing this because they don't really need to. But it is also really sort of an interesting topic, I guess you could say, because it encompasses controlling multiple servers. Like if you looked at the big data processing or whatever we have now at the university. This is essentially a continuation, for example, with Spark RDDs, where you use two machines to perform something. This it stems anywhere from first of all containerizing a platform or an application. So, for example, you have a website, you want to containerize that to make it cross-system super compatible. You do that, and then you have the difficulty of deploying it. And then, for example, if you want to do sharding and replication or like super big availability throughout multiple continents even. For example, you would use something like Kubernetes for that. And one thing that's good about this is Google actually has a great platform for learning these things specifically, like the Google Cloud, which they have like Kubernetes stuff, Docker support in there. A lot of different things are supported in there, and this is what it looks like. And since it is a Google service, it is called Quick Labs. You can go to quicklabs.com, but it is not free to access. But there's a good chance, because we're in the talks at the moment, to get some access to these courses, unlimited access, or perhaps even an unlimited access, because those exist, to these programs, so that you guys, the attendees, can hopefully get some use out of that and join and do some courses, because these you can take quests or courses essentially, and then after that you can display that on your LinkedIn. You can take tests to learn more or earn more advanced badges if you'd like. So it's a great tool by Google. And yeah, like if you'd like to see something like this is Ansible. Controlling multiple servers from one place, deploying multiple different types of applications, the same application on multiple machines with different configurations. You may be interested in that. And then also this is Zabbix, which is a tool for administration. Like you have a lot of different servers, you can set up a load of different charts, and then issue commands as well. So if you're interested in that, be sure to vote for this topic. So now this is a bit of a downer with the workshops that I've already mentioned this. We can do online workshops. It's just that they're not as impactful. You have to do a lot more administrative work, and especially for example, if you did something for a complex topic, like I don't know, graphics, you'd need a lot of hands-on time. That usually works really well if you're in physical space, but sort of fails sometimes if you're doing virtual events. And the same goes for hacking, CTFs, whatever, mini hacking challenges or intros. But we will try, especially if the situation doesn't improve quickly. We will do some workshops online. It's just that we'd prefer to be offline, naturally. Okay, go. This is something that's super new. If you guys have been keeping up with brain-machine interfaces, as soon as development kits for those go out, I'm gonna try to get them on on an event, because it is essentially if you guys haven't seen Elon Musk's Neuralink presentation recently, they're making some really big strides in this area, consisting of, for example, predicting a pig's movements just by the impulses in its brain. Like you can essentially, if that was applied to a human, you could essentially ideally predict where you would want your arms to be. So if you had your arms tied to your sides and then you would imagine your arms here, like in front, you could predict them being in front. So that has insane implications for, from gaming to medicine, everything essentially. The only sort of stopper is that this is super new. There's no way to develop for it yet. It's probably going to use some sort of super low level language like C++. And then also it is going to be expensive to use, especially because it's literally brain machine interfaces. So you would have to pay a bunch of money to, and also probably go somewhere to get the implant or something. And then there's also the security, concerns and stuff. But that's for Neuralink to figure out. I just want to make some cool programs, some cool hologram dashboards in my face, and games perhaps. Okay, and then also this is the new initiative, Game Night, which essentially we're treating this as a hangout. It's sort of a mini event. It's just going to be, not everyone's going to be present for it. and we're gonna aim to get a few of the popular games, and maybe some of the less popular ones, like this here. Of course, I've got Among Us because it's taking the world by storm at the moment. But like, this is Tabletop Simulator. There's countless, like thousands of games on there that are super interesting. That can be played online. You don't have to be physical. No one has to own the game. You just have to get access to it. And then also some some smaller games just for like to keep. To basically communicate and hang out. So that could be Scribble.io, and that could be, Among Us even works in that sort of category. And yeah, so this we're treating as a community building event. So if you'd like to play a few games, meet a few people that are going to be attending the DSC events, and have a good time while doing it, be sure to join. And with that, I'm going to launch a poll right now for which day you would like the game night to be. So we're trying to make it this week, like the intro event. We're going to have more of them later on, of course, but the intro event is probably going to be this week. And I'm seeing a big preference for Saturday and Sunday. So that's pretty good. That's expected. We're gonna probably do it, in the evening around there, so that people get a chance to do something with their day before, resorting to gaming. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the votes. Yeah, we got 50% Saturday, 30% Sunday, 17% on Friday. So it's gonna be on the weekends, probably Saturday then. Cool. Okie dokie. Continuing on, we're almost at the end. Don't forget to vote for every, there's a feedback thing at the end where you can express your interest for all of the topics that have been mentioned. So be sure to do that. And then also, I'm going to mention this. It is a big initiative by Google, as I already said. It is a group project, meaning that you have to form your own group. It's not mandated by anything. There's no regulations. You just have to take a, you have to form your own group essentially, and then make a product that is aimed at improving something in either, general life in general, or it could be aimed at something local. So if there's a organization locally that's struggling with some IT things, you may want to produce, for example, an app, something, something for them to alleviate some of their problems, or to solve something, or to, add to their project something that they don't have at the moment. And yeah, this is a great, great harbor for experience. You're gonna basically have to develop a whole project by yourself, and that's great for portfolios and resumes, but it also just gives you relative or relevant experience while doing those sorts of scoped projects where you have a goal. It's essentially starting a mini company, I guess, where you have a goal, you have an audience, probably just either the whole world if you're improving everything, or a local community, and yeah, and you're gonna be doing that. And also, something great about this is the connections that come with it. So not only do you get to meet a great group of people that you're going to be working with, but also you're going to be getting some ties with the people you're aiming at, if it's if it's local. Maybe get on their good side as well, perhaps even get hired at some point. But yeah, this is a non-profit event that has to be stressed though, so you can't really make it for a monetary purpose. So this is the one reserve that Google, or the one sort of I guess limitation that Google puts on the event. But essentially it is, yeah, I'm gonna stop this. It is a way to, oh yeah, and also if you make a good enough solution, you get considerable airtime with Google. So you would usually be flown out to the DSC, to some demo location, last year or this year, it was virtual, and there's actually a whole recording of the proceedings where there were a few teams that did really well, and they got to present their product, and to like the whole world essentially, and to get some accreditation from Google, which is great if you're seeking that. And yeah, it's going to start in a few months. So we're going to do a few precursor reminders, I guess, for people to start thinking about it. It's not something that's starting right now, but yeah, that's just so you know. And this is a small intro, so I'm gonna just play it. It's like 1 minute. Let's see if it works. Yep. Okay. Okay, wonderful. I hope that worked because I have no way of getting feedback. But thumbs up if it did. Wonderful, sick. Okay, so yeah, so this is was a small intro. Let's not play it again. And this is the full event that I was talking about. So if you're interested in this, I would suggest you to go here and check it out. I probably should post a link to this. So I will post it immediately after the event. It's essentially just look up DSC Demo Day on YouTube and you'll find it. Okay. Yeah, there's a few questions in chat. I will get to those as soon as we're finished, which is basically now. So this is a WhatsApp group. A QR code for a WhatsApp group. The link is also in chat if you'd like to join, if you're not already joined. It is the same WhatsApp group from last year. So there's nothing super new with that. But yeah, the WhatsApp group is going to act as a first front for news. So we're going to send all the event announcements in there. They're also going to be in our socials. So please follow us on there, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Yeah. And then Discord is going to be more for community stuff. So whether you want to find a group or do, for example, the game night stuff, that is all within the Discord. Okay, and then if you could post a link in WhatsApp, that'd be great. This is for the votes. Actually, I'm gonna wait. Actually, yeah, let's wait for like a couple of more minutes for people to scan the code. But also, Koen, if you could post a WhatsApp link back in chat, so people can also join without the QR code, because we are over time a little bit, which we would rather not be. Let's see. I do not know where the chat is. Yep, that's the Facebook link. Thank you, Roman. Okay, people are still joining, so I'm gonna wait for a sec still. Yep, the Discord link is this. Please join and I don't know, write something in the general chat. You have an introduction. Okay, and then this is the feedback form. There's only 5 questions or so it's super short. And this is your chance to vote or you show your interest for the next event. So please open the link. It's also in the chat and it's also in the WhatsApp. You've got plenty of different options to open it from. And yeah, and give your votes towards the events and also some other feedback things. You're also going to receive an email, I think, from Google about this event because it was registered on the DSC Community Dev website, which is going to actually host, announcements for new events as well, because that's what Google prefers us to use. So do fill that out as well. I'm not sure how it works, but I will update you next time because it's a new feature. It's a new DSC Community Dev is a new initiative by Google, which is cool because it's a platform where you can host your DSC pretty well, but we haven't used it yet, so that's exciting. Okay, and then okay, so actually I'm gonna keep this up so people can vote, and then let's go into questions.